Alright, hello. We are ready now for Chapter 14, Adverse Driving Conditions and Emergencies. Emergency situations. Emergencies happen. Adverse conditions, vehicle failures, and driver error can all create emergency situations. Emergencies happen suddenly, leaving little time for emergency and decision making. As a result, emergencies often lead to an incorrect panic response or no response at all. A review of nearly 12,000 reported crashes revealed that more than 37% of drivers involved took no action whatsoever to prevent or avoid the incident. Clearly, it is critical for drivers to remain attentive to the traffic environment at all times in order to perceive potentially dangerous situations. Staying in control. Correct responses to most emergencies can be handled by thinking through the possible situations and mentally rehearsing appropriate responses. Practicing what if responses to simulated emergency situations under safe conditions can reduce the emotional impact and increase the chances of correct performance. Obviously, the driver who knows what to do in an emergency is more likely to stay in control. Reduced visibility. Minimizing the effects of reduced visibility. Weather conditions, traffic, your own vehicle, or the highway environment can reduce visibility. There are several ways to minimize the effects of these conditions. Plan to be seen. Driving with your headlights on is recommended anytime the vehicle is in motion. However, it is especially important in rain, smoke, fog, or snow. Using your headlights in the daytime enables other highway users to see you from twice as far away as vehicles without their headlights on. Keep headlights clean. When you drive on wet streets, mud and dirt splashed by other cars can cover your headlights with film. Unless removed, this film can reduce headlight effectiveness by up to 90%. Clean them periodically to restore their effectiveness. Clear the windshield and rear windows. Snow and sleet can collect and freeze on the windshield, producing wide blocked areas that windshield wipers cannot sweep clean. These areas can restrict vision to the sides and decrease your ability to see other highway users that may move into your path of travel. If you must drive under such conditions, reduce your speed and carefully search road conditions ahead. Make sure your headlights are on so that you are more visible. Also remember that in extremely cold temperatures, your windshield washer fluid may freeze onto the windshield if you attempt to spray fluid while driving. It is important that you clean the outside and inside of your windshield at least once a week. Frequent cleaning is even more important if you smoke. Defrosters. Keep your car's windshield and rear window defrosters in proper working condition. Use an ice scraper to remove snow and ice from your windshield and all windows before you drive. Before you turn on the defroster and blowers, move the heat control to hot and allow the engine to warm up. This will help prevent frost from forming on the inside of the glass. If the windshield and side windows start to fog on the inside, open a window slightly and turn the defroster to a high speed. If your vehicle has an air conditioner, use it to reduce the humidity level. If you must leave the roadway, a hard rain or snow can limit vision so much that you cannot see the edges of the roadway. If you must pull off the road, wait for conditions to improve. It is best to pull into a rest area or parking lot. If this is not possible, pull off the road as far as you can, preferably past the end of the guardrail. If possible, back up outside the guardrail. Turn your headlights off and turn on your emergency flashers to alert other drivers of your presence. When bad weather makes it hard When bad weather makes it hard to see, vehicles on the sides of the roads are at risk of being hit by moving traffic. Placing something like a guardrail between your vehicle and the vehicle approaching from can behind you can provide extra protection. Driving at night. One of the biggest problems when driving at night is reduced visibility. Your sight distance at night is limited to the distance illuminated by your vehicle's headlights. At night, you do not have the advantage of color and contrast that you have during the daytime. Low light. Being able to see well during the daytime does not necessarily mean that you will see well at night. Your eyes must adapt to bright lights in dark areas. After driving 4 or 5 hours on a bright sunny day, it may take an hour or more for your eyes to adjust to low light at dusk or night. Some people may not adapt well may not adapt well to low light and should avoid night driving. Night driving also reduces your ability to see to the sides. Regardless of how effective your headlights are, they do not adequately light off-road areas. Glare and recovery time. At night, all drivers are affected temporarily by the glare of headlights and brightly lit signs or buildings. Most people's eyes recover from such glare within 3 to 5 seconds. However, recovery times of 7 seconds or longer are not uncommon. Typically, the time to recover from glare increases with age. To minimize the challenges of night driving, number 1, adjust your speed to the reach of your headlights. Do not overdrive your headlights. Remember that a blacktop surface does not reflect light as well as concrete and thus reduces the amount of light available. Properly aligned, clean headlights on high beams will light up the roadway 350 to 500 feet ahead. Low beams will light a much shorter distance. Compensate for reduced visibility by increasing your following distance to 4 or more seconds and decreasing your speed. Number 2, keep your eyes moving. Do not focus on the middle of the area illuminated by your headlights. Be sure to search the darkened roadway ahead and the edges of the lighted area. Watch for sudden flashes of light at hilltops, around curves, or intersections. These may indicate the presence of an oncoming vehicle. Concentrate on the street level activities in or near your intended path when signs or brightly lit buildings may distract you. Number 3, look to the sides of objects. In dim light, focus on the edges or outlines of objects. Your eyes can pick up images more sharply this way than by looking directly at the object. Number 4, protect your eyes from glare. Prolonged exposure to glare from sunlight during the day or headlights at night can temporarily affect your night vision. It can also lead to eye strain and drowsiness. Wear good sunglasses on bright days and take them off as soon as the sun goes down. Look to the center of your pathway and use the painted edged lines to guide your vehicle. After steady daytime driving, rest a while before you drive at night. Number 5, at night, if an oncoming vehicle is using high beams, flash your lights from low to high and back to low. If the driver fails to dim the lights, look down toward the right side of the roadway to avoid being blinded. You should be able to see the edge of the lane or the painted edge line and stay on course until the vehicle passes. Number 6, use your headlights wisely. Use high beams when possible. Switch to low beams when you follow or meet oncoming vehicles. Flash your lights to signal that you are overtaking and passing vehicles. Parking lights are not for driving. Parking lights are designed to protect you when you park in areas where light is limited. Number 7, Make it easier for others to see you. Drive with your lights on during the day. Other drivers can see you at a distance of about 4,700 feet with your lights on, compared to about 2,500 feet without your lights. Also, when you prepare to slow or stop, tap the brake pedal to flash the tail lights. This will help alert drivers behind that you are about to decelerate. If you break down, pull completely off the road and turn on your emergency flashers. In addition to emergency flashers, use flares, reflective triangles, or, if necessary, a flashlight to help other drivers see you better. Number 8, avoid constant speed driving around your usual bedtime and downtimes. Your alertness level automatically decreases around your regular bedtime and during your afternoon physiological downtime, which for most people occurs between 2 and 4 p.m. Try to avoid driving during these times. If you must drive during these hours, take frequent breaks. Driving in fog. Driving in dense fog can be like driving with sunglasses on at night. Objects such as other vehicles or traffic signals may not be visible until the last moment, sometimes too late to take proper corrective action. By far, the two most important safety measures you can take when you encounter fog while driving are number one, slow down, and number two, turn on your low beam headlights. A major cause of crashes in fog is overdriving visibility, driving too fast for the distance you can see ahead of you. By reducing speed, you will increase your available reaction time should you encounter a situation that requires corrective action. Keep your low beams on. Driving with your low beam headlights on not only helps you to see the roadway ahead more clearly, but also makes you more visible to other vehicles. Remember to keep your headlights on low beams. The additional light from the high beams will be reflected by the fog back into your eyes, reducing visibility. Parking lights will do little to make you more visible to other drivers. If your vehicle is equipped with daytime running lights, DRLs, you may need to manually turn on your headlights so your tail lights will also be illuminated. Additional tips for driving in fog. Use your windshield wipers to increase your visibility and reduce glare from oncoming vehicles. Avoid sudden stops and remember that larger vehicles need more distance to slow down or stop. If you must stop, steer off the road as far as safely possible. In severe fog, emergency flashers may help make you more visible to other drivers. Check your state law regarding use of flashers while moving. Problems associated with driving in fog are magnified during daytime hours. No trip, no matter how important, is worth gambling your life or the lives of others. By far the safest thing to do if you run into unexpected fog is to move off the highway and wait for the fog to lift. Driving in smoke and sandstorms. Smoke from forest or brush fires can be dangerous because it can occur suddenly without warning and be very dense. Likewise, clouds of sand can significantly reduce visibility. When you approach areas where smoke or sand clouds are present on the roadway, emergency flashers may help make you more visible to other drivers. The best option is to move off the highway and wait for the conditions to improve. Reduced traction. Testing the surface. Reduced traction always increases the risk of skidding, loss of control, and a collision. You should determine how much traction there is and any changes in traction. A quick drop in temperature can freeze rain or wet snow into a slick, icy surface. Judging the amount of traction from inside the vehicle is difficult, but you can test the available traction. First, wait until there is an area free of traffic. Then, move after you slow to 15 to 20 miles per hour. Quickly press on the brake pedal and note if the tires begin to skid or if the anti-lock braking system engages earlier than when in dry conditions. You can also accelerate to check how much traction is available. Either test should provide guidelines to help you adjust your speed and allow you to brake effectively while maintaining traction. Be sure not to place yourself, your vehicle, or anyone else at risk when performing these brief tests. Hydroplaning. In wet conditions, water on the road, excessive speed, underinflated tires, and low tire tread can cause your vehicle to lose contact with the roadway and lose traction. As speed increases, water between the tires and the road can build until the tires begin to ride on a film of water. This is called hydroplaning or aquaplaning. Tire tread. Adequate tire tread allows water to evacuate from under the tires, which prevents hydroplaning at moderate speeds. However, even with good tread, hydroplaning can take place when water is deeper than the tread depth. Hydroplaning and speed. At 30 miles per hour or less on a wet surface, properly inflated tires with good tread should wipe the road surface and maintain contact with the road. But when a vehicle travels over 30 miles per hour on a wet surface, water may separate the tire from the road, resulting in hydroplaning. Usually a driver has little warning that a critical speed has been reached until a change in road surface or a slight turn causes a skid. Certain signs that can help a driver identify conditions that can lead to hydroplaning. Water standing on the roadway, raindrops that bubble as they hit the surface of the road, a slushing sound made by tires on the pavement, a sensation that the steering wheel is loose or has become disconnected from the front wheels of the vehicle. Preventing hydroplaning. To prevent hydroplaning, slow down when you see water standing on the surface of the pavement, especially on freeways. Drive in the tracks or wipes left by the vehicle ahead. Use tires with deep, open treads and be sure to inflate them to the vehicle manufacturer's recommended pressure. If hydroplaning does occur, avoid slamming on the brakes. Instead, ease your foot off the accelerator to gradually decrease speed until your tire regains traction, and continue to look and steer where you want to go. Braking in slick conditions. Braking with ABS. Braking on slippery roads is tricky business. Sudden, hard, or prolonged braking can cause a skid. However, if your vehicle is equipped with anti-lock brakes, all you need to do is press the brake pedal and hold it down. The system automatically senses if the wheel begins to lock and quickly releases and reapplies the brakes as many times as necessary to keep the wheel from locking up. Braking without ABS. If your vehicle is not equipped with anti-lock brakes, the best way to brake under these conditions is to squeeze or threshold braking. To squeeze brake, keep your heel on the floor and use your toes to apply pressure on the brake pedal. If the wheels lock, ease off the brake pedal to a point just before locking. Adjust pedal pressure as necessary. This method gives you the best combination of braking, effort, and directional control. Off-road recovery. At some point, your vehicle may drift off the roadway onto the shoulder, where you may steer onto the shoulder to avoid a collision. Most shoulders provide less traction than roadway surfaces. Shoulders may be narrow strips of loose gravel, grass, or mud, and can be several inches lower than the road surface. In spite of these factors, you can pull off the shoulder and return to the roadway safely if you know and practice the proper procedures. Driving off the edge of the roadway can be very dangerous and could lead to a rollover crash, in which the chance of injury is very high. Keep a firm grip. If you run your right or left wheels off the roadway, maintain a firm grip on the steering wheel and keep the vehicle traveling straight ahead. Straddle the edge of the pavement. You will need to resist the tendency of the vehicle to pull toward the shoulder if it is soft. You must also resist the urge to immediately whip the vehicle back onto the pavement. If your path of travel is clear, if there are no obstacles directly in front of you, you do not rush to return to the roadway. Remain calm and do the following. Ease off the accelerator and allow the vehicle to slow gradually. If possible, avoid braking. If you must brake, use a gentle squeeze braking technique to maintain steering control. Unless some object beside the road is directly in your path, do not try to return to the roadway until you have reduced your speed. Search ahead, to the sides, and to the rear. Number two, steer off the road. Steer the off-road tires to about 1.5 to 2 feet from the edge of the pavement. When your speed is Number three, when your speed is under control and it is safe to do so, quickly turn the steering wheel about an eighth of a turn back toward the road. This permits the front tire to climb the pavement edge and move back onto the roadway, rather than scrubbing along the roadway edge. As soon as the front tire is back on the roadway, counter steer quickly left or right as necessary to stay in the correct lane. Continue to look and steer where you want to go. If you must return to the roadway quickly, in some cases, an object beside the road, such as a tree, bridge abutment, or pedestrian, may force you to return to the road quickly. Because you have little or no opportunity to slow down, do the following. Number one, steer left or right so that off-road wheels are about 12 inches away from the edge of the pavement. Remove your foot from the accelerator and stay off the brakes. Turn the steering wheel quickly, about 1/8 turn, toward the roadway. This allows the tire to roll up over the edge of the pavement back onto the road surface. Number three, immediately as the outer wheels make contact with the edge of the pavement, counter steer about a quarter turn. Then make steering corrections to center or straighten steering. Continue to look and steer where you want to go. Evasive actions. Avoiding a collision. To avoid a collision, you may have to make a sudden and extreme change in your vehicle's speed and direction. These might include abrupt vehicle moves to the left or right, sudden application of brakes, abrupt acceleration, or a combination of these actions. Which is the best plan? It is generally better to use evasive steering rather than braking. That is because at speeds greater than 25 miles per hour, less distance is required to steer around an object than to brake for a stop. The key to successful evasive steering is to have already identified an alternate path of travel to move into. Evasive steering. As described in Chapter 4, hand-to-hand steering maximizes steering control and reduces the risk of injury should the airbag deploy. Since the arms never cross, you are able to provide continuous input to the steering wheel in either direction as necessary. However, in an emergency situation, there may not be time for you to turn the steering wheel using this technique. In this case, fixed hand steering using the 9 o'clock and 3 o'clock or the 8 o'clock and 4 o'clock hand positioning can also be effective. This method provides 180-degree steering input without removing your hands from the steering wheel, a high level of vehicle control, an awareness of where the wheels are pointing, how to straighten them. With your hands at 9 and 3 or 8 and 4, your reaction time is quicker. making you better able to take evasive action. Note, as the steering wheel is turned, the driver's torso remains in place due to the opposing nature of the steering movement. Evasive braking. In some emergency situations, you may be forced to brake because there is no space to the side into which you can steer or because you have failed to identify such a space. In many cases, such as when a crash at an intersection is about to occur, the best action is a combination of controlled braking and evasive steering. The purpose of controlled braking is to achieve the shortest possible stopping distance while maintaining directional control. In vehicles not equipped with ABS, slamming on the brakes and locking the wheels can result in a complete loss of directional control. The heel pivot method. If you if you do not have anti-lock brakes, the best way to make a controlled stop is the heel pivot method. Keep the heel of your foot on the floor and use your toes to apply firm, steady pressure on the brake pedal just short of lockup, point at which the wheels stop turning. The instant you lift your heel from the floor to place the ball of your foot on the brake pedal, the wheels will tend to lock because you will then be controlling the brake with your larger thigh muscles, which are incapable of fine muscle control. Under the stress of trying to stop quickly, drivers almost always apply the brakes too hard and lock the wheels. If this happens, use the heel pivot method to release the brake just a bit, then immediately reapply it with slightly less pressure. Keep your foot on the brake if you have ABS. If you have an anti-lock braking system, use the heel pivot method, but do not remove your foot from the brake. When you put on the brakes hard enough to engage the ABS, you will typically feel the brake pedal pulse back against your foot. This sensation is normal and indicates the system is working properly. Do not pump the pedal or remove your foot from the brake. Evasive acceleration. The emergency technique used least frequently is acceleration, mainly because the dangerous event that drivers have to respond to is in front of them. However, the accelerator can be used effectively to avoid crashes at intersections and in emerging situations. For example, as you enter an intersection or approach a blind alley, you see a vehicle about to cross your path. Hard braking can bring you to a stop directly in the path of the approaching vehicle. Accelerating may be your only means of escape. In such a case, hard acceleration may remove you from the path of the crossing vehicle. Even if you cannot get completely out of the way, acceleration may move the point of impact to the rear of your vehicle away from the passenger compartment. Skidding. Skidding is a situation in which your tires lose all or part of the grip on the road. As your tires lose traction, they begin to slide and can cause your vehicle to deviate from your intended path of travel. Skids can result from accelerating or braking too hard, steering too much or too quickly, or entering a curve with too much speed. Regardless of the cause, a skid means your actions demanded more traction than your vehicle could provide. Cause overbraking occurs when you apply the brake so hard that one or more wheels lock in a vehicle not equipped with ABS. The vehicle generally skids in a straight line and steering control is lost. Over-accelerating occurs when you abruptly depress the accelerator too much and spin the drive wheels. If such a skid is not corrected immediately, the vehicle can abruptly veer to one side or spin around completely. Cornering too fast occurs when you drive into or through a corner at a speed that exceeds the traction capability of your vehicle. If such a skid is not corrected immediately, the vehicle can abruptly veer to one side or spin around completely. Preventing skids. The key to maintaining traction at all times is to recognize when a skid is possible and take action to prevent one from occurring. Skids can be prevented by applying the brakes in a smooth and progressive manner, making smooth, precise steering wheel movements, slowing down well in advance of curves, maintaining speeds appropriate for conditions. Avoid shifting to lower gears in slick conditions. The sudden increase in either power or braking can cause a sudden weight shift in your vehicle, especially in conditions of reduced traction. You do not have to be going fast for a skid to happen when roads are slick. That is why you should always drive slower on wet, slippery, or debris-covered roads. Responding to skids. The first step in regaining traction is to recognize that you are experiencing a skid. Regardless of the cause of the skid, if you are maintaining your visual focus ahead of your vehicle, you should be able to detect when the front of your vehicle deviates from your intended path of travel. As soon as you detect this, you need to take corrective action. Once you begin to respond to a skid, do not stop trying to regain traction. Types of skid and recovery techniques. Regardless of the cause, there are two types of skid: front tire and rear tire. Front tire skid. In a front tire understeer skid, your front tires lose traction and the vehicle pushes wide through the turn and tends to run off the outside of the turn. To regain traction, number one, continue to look and steer toward your intended path of travel. Keep your eyes focused on where you want the vehicle to go. Number two, smoothly ease up on the accelerator. This will transfer more weight to the front wheels, increasing the front tires' traction. If you lift off the accelerator too quickly in a skid, the weight may shift rapidly, such that the rear of the vehicle may slide sideways. You may need to smoothly apply the brakes a bit to regain enough traction to turn the vehicle toward your intended path of travel. Rear tire skid. In a rear tire oversteer skid, your rear tires lose traction and the rear of the vehicle begins to slide sideways. As this happens, the front of the vehicle will deviate from your intended path of travel. If you do not take corrective action, the vehicle may spin around completely. To regain traction, number one, continue to look and steer toward your intended path of travel. Keep your eyes focused on where you want the vehicle to go. Number two, avoid using the brakes. Number three, as the rear tires regain traction, continue steering toward your intended path of travel. You may need to make a number of counter steering corrections before traction is fully regained. Counter steering. Counter steering means steering in the direction you want the front of the vehicle to go, toward your intended path of travel. Most drivers tend to steer this way instinctively in their attempt to correct a rear tire skid. When you counter steer, straighten the wheels as soon as you feel the rear of the vehicle begin to realign with your intended path of travel. Caution. Be careful when you counter steer. It is not enough to correct for only the first oversteer skid. The rear of the vehicle may swing back in the opposite direction of the first skid, fishtailing. Be ready to counter steer quickly if more skidding continues. You need quick and correct reactions for successful skid recovery. Getting unstuck. Despite your best efforts, you may find yourself stuck in mud, deep snow, or sand. When wheels are stuck, Apply power slowly and steadily. Number one, keep the front wheels pointed straight ahead so the vehicle can move in a straight line. If you cannot go forward, try to back out and steer in the tracks the vehicle just made. Number two, try moving the vehicle using second gear, which helps to prevent wheel spin. Accelerate gently. Just give enough pedal pressure to move the vehicle. Ease along gradually until traction is improved. When you must drive in mud, sand, or snow, keep your vehicle moving slowly. Shift to a lower gear in advance and accelerate just enough to keep the vehicle moving. Number three, if your vehicle remains stuck, you may have to rock it out. You can rock a vehicle with either a manual or automatic transmission. Check the owner's manual for the recommended procedure. To rock a vehicle, start slowly in second gear, manual transmission, or low gear, automatic transmission. When the vehicle will go no further forward, release the accelerator to permit the vehicle to roll back. When the vehicle stops its backward motion, apply minimum pressure to the accelerator again. Repeat these actions in rapid succession. Each rock should move the vehicle a little further forward or out of the hole you are in. When you rock, you must use minimum power to help prevent the wheels from spinning and digging deeper. If the wheels simply spin, stop rocking and find a way to create traction under the drive wheels. Usually, if one drive wheel spins, the vehicle is just as stuck as if both wheels were spinning. Obviously, you need traction at both drive wheels. Any rough material such as gravel, cat litter, cinders, burlap, or branches may help. You can even use a floor mat. You may have to shovel out in front of the stuck wheels before you can use such material. Then apply power slowly and steadily, using second gear or an even higher gear. In winter, you may find it useful to carry a bag of sand or cat litter, a shovel, and traction mats in your trunk. Vehicle failures. Mechanical problems when you are driving. Regardless of how well you maintain your car, there is always a possibility that it may break down with little or no warning. The most serious failures are those that affect steering, braking, or engine power. If your vehicle develops mechanical problems when you are driving, your main objective should be to steer safely off the roadway onto the shoulder, then call for help. Be visible when stopped. After you have brought your vehicle to a stop off the roadway, set out flares or other high visibility warning devices such as reflective triangles. Position them at 100 and 200-foot increments behind your car. If you do not have flares or triangles but have a passenger with you, direct the person to walk back 200 to 300 feet, stand well off the road, and signal drivers. If you decide you cannot correct the problem, signal for help. Raise the hood and tie a white handkerchief on your antenna, door handle, or side view mirror, or place it in the window. Remain in your vehicle and call for help. Emergency road service. Emergency road service vehicle operators usually can change a flat tire or perform minor repairs on the spot. In addition, many carry gasoline and jumper cables to take care of the most common breakdowns. If you must be towed to a service garage, you should first find out whether towing is covered under your automobile insurance, roadside assistance program, or auto club membership. You also should find out where the tow truck will take your vehicle, how many miles away from how many miles away the garage is, and exactly what the towing will cost. Also, you may have to arrange transportation since passengers are not usually allowed to ride in the towed vehicle. Joining an auto club can give you peace of mind regarding potential emergencies along the roadway. Engine failure. Most common engine failures. Most common engine failures are stalling, overheating, or failure to start. Many failures result from a malfunctioning fuel injection system, a discharged battery, trouble in the ignition system, low coolant level, a defective thermostat, or broken belts. Most such failures are preventable through proper maintenance. Getting off the road. Engine failure in traffic requires that you check for other cars, signal, and steer to the shoulder of the road to a position as safe as possible. This may be more difficult if your vehicle is equipped with power steering or power brakes, because a stalled engine or broken drive belt in effect eliminates power booster systems. Such failures do not result in a complete loss of braking or steering. However, you must steer harder and apply much greater pressure on the brake pedal. If your engine should begin to miss or stall, shift to neutral and safely steer off the road as soon as possible. Unintended Unintended acceleration. A less frequent type of engine failure is caused by unintended acceleration. Such failures may occur at highway speeds but usually involve unintended acceleration when the vehicle is shifted into gear from a stopped position. There are two actions you should take, one preventative and the other responsive. Number one, before you shift a vehicle with an automatic transmission into gear, place your foot firmly on the brake pedal. Many newer vehicles do not allow the shifter to be moved from park until the brake pedal is depressed. Number two, if you experience a sudden acceleration or the accelerator pedal sticks, shift to neutral and apply the brakes. If you are driving a vehicle with a manual shift, depress the clutch pedal. Once you come to a stop, safely off the roadway, shut off the engine. In a vehicle with an automatic transmission, be careful when you shift to neutral from drive, because it may be possible to move the shifter level through neutral directly into reverse. Floor-mounted shift lever. To prevent the floor-mounted shift lever from moving accidentally, manufacturers have added a locking device to the shifting stem or the thumb side of the T-bar that must be depressed before the shift lever can be moved. However, in a few vehicles, the locking device must be depressed below the top of the knob. In others, you might have to squeeze the handle. Check the owner's manual for the proper operation. Practice. Having information is not the same thing as using it. If you are to respond to an emergency, you must be able to act without conscious thought. Know the type of shifting mechanism in your vehicle and practice until you can shift to neutral without taking your eyes off the road. Light failure. A common problem is headlight, brake light, or turn signal light failure. Analysis of data collected on vehicles passing through the AAA Automotive Diagnostic Center revealed that more than 24% of vehicles tested have one or more lights burned out due to electrical malfunctions. Most failures should be detected during routine vehicle checks. Regardless of whether you perform all routine maintenance, sudden light failure can occur. Sudden headlight failure. While failure of either brake or turn signal lights increases your risk of being involved in a crash, sudden headlight failure on a dark, winding road can be disastrous. Apply the brakes and at the same time hit the dimmer switch, so one or the other may still work. If this does not help, turn on the parking lights, emergency flashers, or turn signals. It is critical to concentrate on getting the vehicle safely off the road and parked. Warn other drivers of your presence, and once you are parked, do not drive again until you can take care of the problem. Tire failure. If a tire suddenly goes flat while you are driving, continue to look down your intended path of travel, keep a firm, steady grip on the steering wheel, and maintain a straight course. You must concentrate on keeping or regaining control. Stay off the brakes. Use the accelerator to help you control the vehicle with one of these methods. Number one, ease up on the accelerator, allowing the engine to slow the vehicle. Number two, accelerating slightly may help improve the vehicle's directional stability. Once you have the vehicle under control, lightly apply the brakes with an easy, steady pressure. If a front tire has failed, you will feel a strong pull toward the side where the tire is located. A rear tire failure can cause a rear tire oversteer skid. Pull off the road. When the vehicle is under control, look for a place to pull off the road. Do not worry about ruining your tire if you must drive on it for a short distance. Chances are it is not safe for future use anyway. Park well off the highway. If possible, have at least 5 feet of clearance between you and the traveled portion of the highway. Set the parking brake and move the selector to the park position. If you have a manual transmission, place the gear shift lever in first or reverse. If you plan to change the tire, make sure you are not close to moving traffic and that other drivers can see you. Fire. If fire breaks out under the hood or in the passenger compartment, steer the vehicle off the road. Turn off the ignition and get the passengers out and well away from the vehicle. Call 911 and notify the fire department. If the fire is under the hood and flames are shooting out, do not raise the hood. Usually, automotive fires are caused by electrical short circuits. If the fire is out of control, move at least 100 feet away, since a fuel fire may cause the fuel tank to explode. Brake failure. If your brakes fail but the engine still appears to be functioning normally, pump the brake pedal rapidly. You may be able to build enough brake pressure to steer off the roadway and stop safely. If this does not work, apply steady pressure to the parking brake, which generally controls just the rear wheels. Be careful and prepare to release the brake if the wheels lock. You can reapply the parking brake if needed. There are several different types of parking brake systems. Take the time to review the vehicle's owner's manual to determine how yours works. Slowing the vehicle. Downshifting your vehicle can also help slow it down. Find an escape route, a safe exit from the roadway. Sound your horn and flash your lights to signal an emergency to other drivers. In extreme cases, you may have to more severe methods. You may have to use more severe methods to slow your car. You may have to run along an embankment, scrape against a curb, or drive against bushes or other obstructions. Child restraint laws. Safety restraints for children. All states have child restraint laws that require children at least up to age 4 to be properly secured in child safety seats. Rear-facing infant seats are designed for infants, usually from birth to 20 or more pounds. After a baby has outgrown the infant seat, parents should use a convertible child seat to secure the baby. Babies should ride rear-facing until age 2, or they reach the upper weight and height limit for their rear-facing convertible seat. A rear-facing child seat should never be placed in front of an active frontal airbag, which could cause serious injury or even death if deployed. Weight limit. A child can then safely ride in a forward-facing child seat. They should continue to use their forward-facing seat until they reach the upper weight limit of the harness at 40 pounds or more. Protecting children who have outgrown the safety seat. Once a child has outgrown the child safety seat, he or she should be secured with the vehicle's lap shoulder seat belts and a belt positioning booster seat. Booster seats are important because they help position the seat belt correctly on the child, with the lap portion of the seat belt low on the child's hips and the shoulder belt across the collarbone and sternum. Children are ready for the vehicle seat belt when they are 4 feet 9 inches, usually between 8 to 12 years of age. Remember, all children under 13 should ride in the back seat. Buckle up, everyone. It is crucial that all occupants be buckled up properly during every ride in the vehicle. Crash forces are estimated by multiplying speed and weight. For example, in a 30-mile-an-hour crash, a 15-pound baby would absorb 450 pounds of crash forces. Chances of injury and death are reduced by 71% for infants and by 54% for toddlers properly restrained in child safety seats. When seat belts are used by front seat occupants, chances of fatal injury are reduced by 45%. How to minimize the consequences of a collision. Minimizing consequences. A goal of any driver is to avoid crashes or injury. Unfortunately, this goal is not always possible. If a collision appears inevitable, you should attempt to minimize the consequences. You must plan strategies before such a situation arises. Protect yourself. When you use the safety equipment on your vehicle properly, you can reduce the probability of death or injury. The more secure you are in the car, the lower your chance of being injured. Think of yourself as a fragile object that you want to package and ship. You would not throw an egg into a box hoping it would arrive undamaged, nor would you want the contents to spill out during shipment. This analogy applies just as easily to you and your vehicle. Buckle up for safety. Your teenagers are at much greater risk if they are not properly using their safety belts. You also are at much greater risk when your passengers are not belted. During a collision, your passengers could be thrown about inside your car and collide with you, injuring you or causing you to lose control of your vehicle. Keep everyone safe by ensuring that all passengers are belted. No passengers are seated where belts are unavailable. No passengers are in a pickup truck's bed. No passengers are in the cargo area of an SUV. Pets are secured. Airbag safety belt combination. Energy absorbing materials protect fragile objects shipped in containers. Padded instrument panels, collapsible steering wheels, head restraints, and airbags illustrate this principle in automobiles. The benefits of an airbag seatbelt combination become readily apparent when you realize that at least 70% of all vehicle occupant fatalities are drivers. Of these deaths, approximately 70% are caused by injuries to the upper chest, neck, and lower face. An airbag safety belt combination helps keep the driver from coming in contact with the steering wheel and column. Setting a good example. One final point about safety belts applies to you if you have passengers in the car. You set a good example if you wear your safety belt whenever children ride with you. By insisting they also wear safety belts, you can help them develop a habit that may save their lives. Lock the doors. Locked doors may be less likely to open in a rollover or side collision, and you can decrease the possibility of the driver or passengers being ejected. Wear your lap shoulder belt drawn up snugly, even in an airbag equipped vehicle, to reduce the chance of being thrown from the vehicle or tossed around inside the event of a collision. Studies show you are likely to suffer less severe injuries if you are restrained inside the vehicle in a crash rather than ejected. Safety belts also keep you in place so you can control the vehicle and perhaps avoid a collision altogether. The collision. In any motor vehicle crash, there is usually more than one collision. Although a vehicle decelerates rapidly in a collision, unsecured occupants continue to move. The first collision occurs when the vehicle and another vehicle, an abutment, a tree, or some other object. The second collision occurs a fraction of a second later between the occupants and some part of the vehicle's interior. A third collision generally occurs a fraction of a second after the second collision. This is when the body's internal organs strike other body parts, such as the ribs or the skull. The first collision causes vehicular and possible property damage. The second and third collisions may result in occupant injury or death. Minimizing the first collision. If you are packaged safely inside the vehicle, what can you do to minimize the first collision? Be constantly alert to the environment and stay focused on driving. If you use the vehicle's maneuverability to maintain control, in many cases you can change the nature and consequences of the collision. Choose how to collide. If a collision appears unavoidable, perhaps you can choose an off-road path. A head-on collision with another vehicle or an immovable object such as a tree, pole, or bridge abutment is the worst type of collision. If possible, steer to the side of the road when you take an evasive action. Steering left to avoid a collision is more likely to bring you into the path of oncoming traffic. Hit with a glancing blow. Another general rule is to hit an object with a glancing blow at an angle rather than head on. For example, many collisions have been minor because the vehicle has sideswiped a guardrail, bounced off, and the driver maintained steering control. Choose what you hit. If you have the opportunity to decide what to hit, choose something that gives, such as a bush or other object capable of absorbing some of the energy. Take the hit at or behind your rear wheels. If you see you are about to be involved in a crash, adjust your speed and steer so you can hit or be hit at or behind the rear wheels. Such actions substantially reduce impact forces and allow the vehicle to spin instead of absorbing the force of the vehicle that strikes it. Recognize that it can happen. No one can predict in advance exactly what to do to minimize the effects of a collision. Each situation presents different possibilities. Time is limited in emergencies, so it becomes impossible to judge what each person can or cannot do when a collision appears inevitable. By accepting the fact that a collision can happen to you, you will be taking a step in the right direction. Data indicate that about 1 in 10 drivers and 1 in 2 new drivers will be involved in a crash of some type each year. Remember, only 1/10 of a second is enough to turn a fender bender into a potentially fatal collision. If you are involved in a collision, know what to do. Even competent drivers sometimes become involved in a crash. It does not matter who is at fault. A collision can cause human suffering, loss of time, legal problems, and great expense. Doing the right thing at the right time might save a life or minimize injuries. Therefore, all drivers should know what to do if they become involved in a traffic collision. Responsibility. Drivers and owners of motor vehicles must be prepared to assume legal and financial responsibilities if they are involved in a collision. People are liable for actions that cause injury or damage to others or their property. Being prepared can lessen and often prevent legal problems. Duties at the scene of a collision. Stop immediately. If you are driving a vehicle involved in a collision, you must stop your vehicle at the scene or as near as possible and try to avoid obstructing traffic. In some jurisdictions, vehicles must remain unmoved until a police officer arrives. In others, unless someone has been injured, the vehicles are to be moved from the roadway if they can be driven. All states apply severe penalties to drivers who flee the scene of a collision, hit and run drivers. Assist the injured. Your first duty in the event of a collision is to quickly check for injured people and call 911. Make the injured comfortable, but do not move them unless there is a risk of another collision or fire. You do not want your good intentions to result in further injury to anyone. If you are certified to render first aid, administer basic first aid to address blocked breathing, shock, and severe bleeding. Control the scene. After checking for injuries, take steps to prevent further damage or injury. If possible, post someone near the scene to warn approaching traffic. Place warning flares or reflective triangles several hundred feet in back of and in front of the crash site to warn approaching drivers. Be extra careful of approaching vehicles when you set out warning devices or examine your vehicle. Turn on hazard flashers at night, leave on low beam headlights. If a disabled vehicle must remain on the road, stay as far away from the vehicle as possible. Notify police. The law requires you to notify the police immediately when your vehicle is involved in a collision that results in personal injury, death, or property damage over a specific dollar amount. Call the law enforcement agency that has jurisdiction in your area where the collision occurs. Even when there seems to be no injuries or property damage, you should notify the proper authority immediately so an officer can investigate the collision. The officer's report may help later if a liability claim is filed. A report must be submitted to the state. If a police officer is not present at the scene, a report still must be submitted within a specified number of days following a collision. Regardless of which driver is at fault, the state can suspend the driver's license of any person who fails to make such a report. Report forms are available from local police departments and auto insurance companies. As a general rule, these reports are confidential, cannot be used, and cannot be used as evidence in any civil or criminal trial that results from the collision. Remain at the scene. Unless your injuries force you to do otherwise, do not leave the crash scene until you have helped the injured, protected the crash scene, and talked with a police officer. Make notes and diagrams, including weather and road conditions, to help you complete the necessary state and insurance collision reports. If you have a camera, taking photographs of the scene can also provide important documentation of the event. Exchange required information. If you are driving a vehicle involved in a collision, you should exchange information with the other driver and any passengers. Give each other your names, addresses, vehicle identification numbers, and registration numbers. Both drivers must show their driver's licenses when requested. Passengers must provide the required information when the driver is physically unable to do so. Any crash witnesses should also be identified. Notify your insurance carrier. Be sure to contact your insurance representative promptly to ensure proper claims filing. Unattended vehicle or property. Should you hit an unattended vehicle or property, try to inform the owner. If you cannot locate the owner, attach a written notice with required information to the vehicle or property. Write down the license number of the other vehicle if what you hit was another vehicle. Stopping when not personally involved. You have a moral responsibility to stop if you come upon a collision and assistance is needed. Be sure to find a safe place to pull off the roadway. Drive on if there is adequate assistance available, because stopping may create additional problems. Know what to say. What to say or do may be very important in the follow-up of a collision. Do not argue, accuse anyone, admit fault, or sign any statement except as required by police. No one can force you at the crash scene, police headquarters, or elsewhere to give an opinion of the crash's cause. You might have the right to consult an attorney before you make any statement. Financial responsibility. Motor vehicle owners must assume financial responsibility for their driving actions and those of others permitted to use their vehicles. In many cases, both the driver and the owner may be liable for injuries to passengers and others.